Rhode Island is the most recent state to sign a hefty assault weapons ban into law, and one local gun shop gave the middle finger to the new ban by giving away free rifles before the ban takes effect. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Rhode Island's governor just signed a new bill that bans the manufacture, sale, and transfer of so-called assault weapons, aka most semi-automatic rifles, punishable by up to 10 years in prison and a $10,000 fine just for transferring an AR-15 to someone who is otherwise legally permitted to own a firearm. Besides the content of the law, there was some weird controversy around its passage in the state legislature, as there was this whole ethics issue over whether or not the state's Senate Majority Leader would even be allowed to vote on it because he's an FFL. There was speculation that he would be the key vote to keeping the bill from hitting the legislature floor, but obviously, if it passed and got to the governor, that is not what happened. And with 24 of the 37 state senators on the co-sponsor list, if it hit the floor, it was pretty obvious that it would pass. Now, before I get into the specifics today, though, this video is brought to you with the help of Blackout Coffee Company. Blackout is a Florida-based coffee roaster that has strong roots in supporting Second Amendment rights and traditional values. They support channels like mine and even have dedicated partner roasts that raise money for GOA, FPC, or the Second Amendment Foundation. So to get a cup of coffee that you can be proud of and help the channel, go to blackoutcoffee.com/LibertyDoll, and as a bonus, you can use code LibertyDoll for a one-time 20% discount. And if you have already used that coupon code, their 4th of July sale is on, where with code JULY1776, you can get 17.76% off your order. This bill, like all gun bans, is a pretty terrible one and holds exactly the kind of language that you would expect. Supporters of it, though, argue that it isn't a real ban because it allows gun owners currently in possession of the banned guns to keep them so long as they register them with law enforcement. And of course, we know from folks in Connecticut how well that grandfather registration scheme works out. People don't comply. And rightfully so. So, good effing luck. But the bill will make it pretty much impossible for someone to obtain most semi-auto rifles after July 1st, 2026, in a state that regularly has more drunk driving fatalities than it does homicides. And I don't mean just, homicides with rifles. I mean the whole kit and caboodle of homicides is less than drunk driving fatalities in the state of Rhode Island. But we don't see anyone banning alcohol. The news of the ban just so happened to coincide with a Rhode Island military surplus shop getting into the business of also selling guns, so they decided to celebrate this new venture and buck the new ban by giving away 6 free guns, including 3 AR-15s. WPRI 12 was aghast that surplus provisions of Warwick, Rhode Island made the announcement of the giveaway and tons of discounts on social media, and that the announcement was made by a woman, no less, which somehow makes it more shocking because us little ladies are supposed to sit down and be demure and mindful and never be prepared for bad things to happen ever. Or I guess let them happen if they do. Tanya Pereira told local news that the store's Locked and Loaded launch kicked off at 10 a.m. on Saturday, that the first person in line got a free AR-15, the second person in line got a free shotgun, the third a free revolver, etc., etc. The first 50 customers were also entered into a raffle for another free AR-15, and anyone who showed up in surplus provisions gear were entered into another drawing for a free pistol. There was also a shooting competition, with the prize being yet another firearm. People lined up and camped out for the event as early as Wednesday. The event was so huge that there wasn't even any parking available anywhere near the shop. Honestly, it sounds like it was an awesome event, and I am quite frankly shocked that something like that happened in Rhode Island. Now, admittedly, I am not super familiar with the gun community of Rhode Island because the parts of Rhode Island that I saw were basically Fall River and New Bedford Part 2. And we would just try to not go there. The people of Rhode Island know exactly what I'm talking about. and so do the people of Massachusetts. But I was even more shocked to see that only a handful of negative comments were on their social posts. Of course, mostly people who are ignorant of the law, claiming that the giveaways broke the law by ignoring federal requirements for background checks and claiming that one of the winners was going to create the next Idaho incident. Clear ignorance of the law. But all in all, it looks like the 2A community is bigger in Rhode Island than I thought, or at least a lot more fervent. I don't know the numbers. I know that in Massachusetts, it's only about 10% of the population that owns firearms, and I would assume that it's similar numbers in Rhode Island, but clearly you guys support your local community. Pereira has also been a vocal opponent of the bill, going so far as to attend several hearings and streaming some of them on Facebook Live on the company's page. Much like the back and forth with the big, beautiful bill that is not so beautiful, there were a lot of folks saying the same thing about the Rhode Island ban, that, well, at least it's not the worst version, but it's obviously still pretty terrible. The grandfathering version is a watered-down version that many of the state lawmakers claimed didn't go far enough, and so they have vowed to expand the new law the first chance they get, which of course is business as usual. Unfortunately, a lot of states that get these gun bans see FFLs struggling to stay open once the bans take effect, which is of course a feature and not a bug. In some states like Illinois, there have just been rashes of FFLs closing because they can't stay open with these gun bans. So hopefully surplus provisions doesn't experience that fate, being that they are already a military surplus store. It's probably not going to happen. Now, gun rights groups in the area have vowed to challenge the ban immediately. Of course, until the Supreme Court actually takes up one of these cases, it might not do a ton of good. You and I know that they have the Constitution on their side, and Heller and Bruin, but of course, these states tend to ignore that and only follow the laws that they want to. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this video. A little bit of good, a little bit of really terrible, but that's how it goes in today's news cycle. Anyways, you guys know the drill. For all of the algorithm things, please do them, and as always, thanks for tuning in. Stay safe out there, and happy shooting.